Dear students, today I'm going to narrate the summary of the first chapter of the novel Goodbye, Mr. Chips. I'm sure you must have gone through the short summary of the novel before, so it's gonna give you help in order to understand as to what is going to transpire in the coming events of the novel. Dear students, as you know, this novel has been written by James Hilton. And James Hilton tells us nothing about parentage of Mr. Chips. Mr. Chips was a nickname of Mr. Chipping. He was lovingly called Mr. Chips. Mr. Chips is a very significant novel encompassing the story of a hero. It is not a hero in the conventional sense of the word. He is the hero who is a teacher, and he leads his whole life in the profession of teaching. In the first chapter, it's been told that when Chips was living at Mrs. Wickett's house, the hours seemed to pass very slowly. Now, Mrs. Wickett was once the in charge of the linen room of Brookfield Public School. She got retired and started living in front of Brookfield School across the road. Mr. Chips also rented a house in her residence, and both were living together. She was also serving in the capacity of her maid as well. Now, Mr. Chips was a conventional sort of person. He had his own timetable. He did not follow the Greenwich time. He followed the time with the signals of the past. For example, when he woke up with the bell of Brookfield Public School. When he had his breakfast, when he had his lunch, when he had his dinner, when he went to sleep, when he went to playground, he followed all the timetable as devised by Brookfield Public School. So these are some of the events that have been described in the first chapter. We've been also told about the health of Mr. Chips. Mr. Chips had a doctor with the name of Mr. Merrivale. He would frequently visit him and examine him whether Mr. Chips was having a serious disease or not. At the end of the day, he would give his judgment, saying that Mr. Chips had nothing serious about him as far as any serious disease was concerned. It was just that he was getting old, and this was the problem with Mr. Chips, that he was only getting old. He hadn't any other serious problem. We've been also told in this chapter about his headmaster, Mr. Weatherby. When Mr. Chips joined the school, Mr. Weatherby was the headmaster of the school. He gave him a piece of advice as to how to maintain the discipline, how to get control over insolent and rude boys, and the things like that. So, dear students, this is the summary of the first chapter of the novel Goodbye, Mr. Chips.